You know, for years, the whole idea of net zero buildings felt like something out of a futuristic concept drawing. But today, right here in Canada, it's the reality on pretty much every major job site. So the big question is, how did this future arrive so darn fast? Let's break down that shift from blueprint to actual, real-world building. So what flipped the switch? I mean, why is net zero suddenly the most important term in construction? It feels like it happened overnight, right? Well, this isn't just some passing trend. It's a huge, fundamental shift, and it's being driven by something much, much bigger than just good intentions. Okay, so the first thing you've got to understand is this. The era of that one-off, lonely, experimental green building, that's over. We have totally entered a new phase where net zero is no longer the cool exception, it's quickly becoming the baseline for pretty much every new project. And here's the kicker. The real push isn't coming from architects, it's coming from the institutions with all the power. City Hall is literally rewriting the rulebook. The banks, they're tying their loans to these standards. And governments are making it absolutely non-negotiable for public projects. The whole system is now like this powerful river, and it's all flowing in one direction, net zero. And you might think this is just a coastal thing, right? But check this out. While British Columbia has definitely been leading the pack for a while, just look at Ontario and Alberta. They're catching up, and they're catching up fast. This is no coincidence. It's a super clear signal that developers and investors all across the country are responding directly to these powerful new rules and, of course, the financial incentives. But what does net zero actually mean when we're on a job site? Because let's be honest, it's really easy to just think, oh, you just slap some solar panels on the roof and call it a day. The reality is so much more complex, and it's all about how the entire building works together as one big system. It's really not about finding one magic bullet or some single piece of revolutionary tech. The real key isn't in any one component. It's all about how all the different pieces of the puzzle fit and work together. And that brings us to the absolute core concept here. Systems integration. I want you to think of a Formula One car for a second. It's not just the engine that makes it blisteringly fast, right? It's how the engine, the aerodynamics, the chassis, the tires, how they all work in absolute perfect harmony. A net zero building is exactly the same. The building's skin or its envelope, its organs or the mechanical systems, and its energy source, they all have to be engineered to operate as one seamless, hyper-efficient machine. So what does this integrated system actually look like when the boots hit the ground? Well, it really all comes down to four essential pillars. Okay, first up, a high-performance envelope. We're talking an incredibly airtight and super well-insulated outer shell. Second, you've got your ultra-efficient mechanicals for heating, cooling, all that stuff. Third, renewable energy to cover what little power the building still needs. And number four, and this one is so crucial, is tight coordination. A meticulous setup process to make sure every single component is installed and calibrated to absolute perfection. All right, so we have the policy, and we have the technology. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, this is where it all gets tricky. We're talking about the huge gap between the perfect plan on a computer screen and the messy, unpredictable reality of a construction site. This slide just captures the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the architect's digital model, where every seal is perfect, everything fits flawlessly. But then, you have the other side, the real construction site, with mud and weather and dozens of different people. Trying to execute that digital perfection in the real world, that is the true challenge. This is where a net zero project lives or dies. And these right here, these are the small mistakes that cause huge failures. A tiny, almost invisible gap in the air barrier can become a massive energy leak. A steel beam that isn't properly insulated creates something called thermal bridging. You can think of it like a superhighway for heat to escape the building, completely bypassing all that expensive insulation. And even the absolute best equipment, if it's not set up with total precision, just won't perform the way it's supposed to. So, when you pull all of this together, the policy, the tech, the on-site challenges, we arrive at the single most important takeaway in this entire shift happening in the construction industry. And this quote from Builders Canada just hits the nail on the head. The challenge isn't really designing a net zero building anymore. We know how to do that. The real, honest-to-goodness challenge is building it right. This has stopped being a design problem and has become a construction quality problem, one that demands a whole new level of precision from every single person on that job site. Which leaves us with this final, crucial question. If the policies are falling into place and the technology is already here, Is it possible that the next great frontier for net zero isn't going to be discovered in a lab, but on the construction site itself? The future of green building might not depend on the next big invention, but on our ability to train and empower the people on the ground to build our future perfectly.